Hey, what's good, everybody? Happy Wednesday. It is a good Wednesday here, actually, in the office. We, appears that we got to 10,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. That's pretty cool. I never thought 100 people would pay attention, but I'm happy to see that. Thank you all so much for those of you that have subscribed. If you're participating, I hope you learned something. That's the goal. Teach everybody kind of how things work and try to do it in a more lighthearted way. You know, we don't have to be so serious about everything these days, but we do take your investments seriously. So if you are a client, we're on it. If you are not a client of Jazz Wealth, you should check us out. jazzwealth.com. We'll help you with your investments. We'll help you with anything that touches your money. That's important to us. We want to make sure you have your dough straight while you have your investments straight as well. So that's that. I appreciate everything. I mean, that's, I don't know if I like what you do. 10,000 subscribers. I got an email from YouTube saying thanks. That's pretty cool. But let's get to the markets here. Oh, one other thing, our funny money video, I posted just a segment. We're doing a podcast with me and my brother, just kind of having fun with some of the savings and money topics and things that might be interesting to you. We did a segment. I just posted only that segment on the YouTube channel. It's called Sad But True. I read him two different stories. One of them completely made up about a public company and maybe something they did. And then another one was completely true, however, very sad that it actually happened. So like sad by like disappointing sad. So I read him two stories. I was very detailed, and see if he guessed it right. Check it out on our YouTube channel. It was a lot of fun. We're going to keep doing that, I think, every couple days, just to kind of see what actual public companies do that really are kind of, you know, bad, that they actually do these things, but they're true, and then I'll make up a story as well. Anyways, let's go over to the markets. Let's take a look today. The Dow started off higher. Everything started off higher today, but the sellers came in after yesterday's sell-off and just started pushing it into the close. I think it's too early to tell if it's a big deal. So basically where we're at here, end of the month. End of the months can be a little bit volatile, and since yesterday was a little bit weak, it was widely expected that today would be a little weak as well. Banks and tech, you had none of them today. They didn't even try to show any kind of support today, so that put the Dow lower by 386, most of that coming right near the close of the day. The S&P was down by 30, and the Nasdaq lost 57 on the day. Crude oil was a big one. Let's go over to crude oil, down just over 2%. That weighed on the S&P a little bit, a lot of energy stocks there. That also took down every energy ETF, any commodity ETF, any sort of oil ETF that you might be invested in, or mutual fund if you happen to have those elsewhere. And you know, that was very weak. So looking at the banks today, they were also very weak. Tech also very weak on the day. Just no real chance for a good market rally. It's one day. We'll see what March has to offer, because tomorrow's March. Let's go over to some individual stocks for the day. I'm not going to badmouth these guys, but Ameriprise, finally, after 3 years, the SEC announced that they had reached a settlement with Ameriprise. The stock's ticker symbol, I believe, is AMP. Yeah, AMP. So it was down 2% on the day on the news. Here's what it looks like. Been a little bit weak lately, one of the underperformers. But it was down today because, so what happened was, you know, this is the company. Look, what happened was we accidentally overcharged 1,800 customers fees on their mutual funds that we shouldn't have charged. Total of $1.7 million. So the company announced today, without admitting fault or any wrongdoing, they paid $230,000. Big deal, drop in the bucket. Now here's the thing, I'm not going to badmouth them because this is very common. There's two links on my website, jazzwealth.com, that will take you to the SEC's website, the brokercheck.gov, and I forget the other one, but I think it's the SEC. And you can actually type in any brokerage firm. You could type Ameriprise in there and you'll see this fine in there. Now, I don't think this was Ameriprise being malicious. I highly doubt they would do this. What happens is, as they get investigated, there's regulators that come into their offices. There may even be some that are there permanently, and they constantly make sure everything's on the up and up. Well, look, with technology, everything going on, they made a mistake. They accidentally charged them. I believe it was an accident. I used to work for a brokerage firm that had to pay these sort of weird, odd penalties and stuff. None of them meant wrongdoing. It was just an accident along the way. They made good by the client, and so they'll be back in business no time. So if you have Ameriprise, you're invested in them, or you work with Ameriprise, you have a retirement account, maybe you were overcharged or something, they'll fix it. I won't be the one to bash them today. So let's move on. Take a look at Papa John's. That's going to be in the news. That's not the symbol. PISA is the symbol. We'll go over to the charts. There you go. So Papa John's was up 2.5%. They are officially out as the NFL's main pizza sponsor, and Pizza Hut is in. So Papa John's decided today they were just going to cut ties. They have had it with how the NFL handled the the kneeling with the national anthem, the people that didn't want to stand for that. And they also were blaming the poor ratings. They said, it's not worth it for us anymore. We're going to move on. And Papa John's is going to sponsor individual teams. I believe 22 or 24 different teams instead of being the NFL's main sponsor. Well, Pizza Hut's been looking to sneak their way in there. And Pizza Hut, if you don't know it, is not actually a public company. Pizza Hut is owned by a company called Yum Brands. So the most popular thing is KFC and Taco Bell are the big names that Yum Brand owns. Pizza Hut is also one of them. They've been trying to find a way to get more exposure and get more growth. Pizza Hut has had a rough time really growing as a company, and they're hopeful this will do the trick. So Pizza Hut's in. I think the deal is going to be more beneficial for Pizza Hut than it is going to be for Papa John's. We'll see in the long run. I happen to be a fan of Yum Brands myself. Not the restaurants so much, but I just like that stock. For some reason, I just find it very interesting. So that's the big news you'll see in the headlines there. Everybody was talking about that. Let's go over to retail, because I've been talking about how there's going to be some headlines this week, but the underlying momentum is really in the retail stocks. They are driving the markets, well, at least starting to drive the markets here, because they're all reporting earnings. This is a big week for retail stocks. Now, TJ Maxx reported earnings, absolutely took off, blasted off today. If it weren't for the weak markets, I think this would have closed near the highs. It gained 7% on the day. TJX Companies, they own TJ Maxx and Marshalls. Yes, TJ Maxx and Marshalls. They own those companies, and they said everything's going great. They announced earnings much better than expected. Not a good thing though for the markets. We like to see Nordstrom's or Macy's. They did good, but we like to see the high-end retailers outperforming. TJ Maxx, if you've ever been there, or Marshalls, that's a discount retailer, right? So if they're doing well, is it because people won't spend money on the high-end stuff? So TJ Maxx did good. We'll take it for what it is right now. But that was your leader in the S&P today. Very strong after the earnings report. Other retail names, Lowe's. Nobody around here goes to Lowe's. We have a Lowe's, and it's brand spanking new. It's all fresh looking, but it's been there for like 10 years because nobody goes in there. Everybody goes to Home Depot. Lowe's reported earnings, not very good. They had strong sales, disappointed on earnings and their growth going forward, so investors sold that off. And Office Depot, honestly, I didn't know Office Depot still existed as a company. It looks like they're barely hanging in there. The stock was down 9%, almost 10% on the day, moving to new lows, almost falling to the bottom of your screen there. I don't know why they still exist. I don't expect that they'll be around for the long run, but let's move on to some better news. Etsy. Have you ever heard of Etsy, the online retailer, arts and crafts and sort of little DIY things that you do, and all the dollars my wife spends on there? So Etsy up 20% today. Growth well beyond their expectations. Hey, they did good, right? Big deal. They had a great earnings announcement. If you've been investing in Etsy, they've been growing very, very quickly and showing that, of course, with their earnings. So nothing bad to say there. Let's go over to Dick's Sporting Goods. Now, this one did not report earnings. What Dick's did today, and the stock was basically up 0.5%. Dick's Sporting Goods said, we are no longer going to sell assault rifles or those high-capacity magazines in our stores, our Dick's stores. Keyword there, Dick's stores. So they said immediately, we're going to get rid of them. We're not going to sell them. We're not going to offer them in the wake because of what's happened with the school shootings. We've decided to just ban them. What they didn't do was ban them in their other stores, right? If you have a Dick's Sporting Goods by you, then somewhere around you probably have a Field & Stream store. Field & Stream is essentially like a Bass Pro Shops or a Gander Mountain. It's kind of the same thing. They decided they're going to sell the assault rifles and high-capacity magazines there. So they're not getting rid of them altogether. Either way, the news today sent the shares of gun manufacturers. Sturm Ruger. You guys know Ruger if you're gun fanatics. That stock's down to new lows, 6.5% on the day. So hurting the gun makers there in the short term. But really, you know what I mean? Like, you could just go buy the gun at Field & Stream, could you not, right? If they're still selling them. And an interesting fact came out, I didn't know this when I read this story. The shooter in the Stoneman Douglas high school shooting there just was last week or the week before, had just bought a shotgun at Dick's Sporting Goods. Not an assault rifle, he bought a shotgun. So not sure the disconnect there. Anyways, we'll try to keep it out of those sort of hot button topics. The last thing I want to bring to you guys today, kind of a fun one. If you have kids, McDonald's is getting back together with Disney. So when you get a Happy Meal at McDonald's, you're going to get a Disney little toy or little trinket in there. They're going to start with The Incredibles 2. I didn't even know there was an Incredibles 1, so that shows how up to date I am. And they're going to add those toys back starting in June. Remember, McDonald's was in the news recently because they said they want to eliminate the cheeseburger from more than half of their Happy Meals. They want to try to make the Happy Meals healthier. Now they're just trying to make them a little more fun. So McDonald's down on the day 1.2%. I don't think that really has anything to do with that news, to be honest. Monster Energy Drink down 10% after earnings. That's going to put it down all the way down here. Wow. Let's see. Monster Energy down to 56.65. Holy cow. That's a big move there for Monster. Not good for them. And while we're recording or while we're doing this, there's really no other names that have announced their earnings yet. Has there been? I'm going to take a look real quick. I don't see anybody in there at all. So we'll leave it there. I think that's the day. Not a good day, but we'll see how March decides to treat us there. We'll be with you, of course, through the whole thing. Be sure to check out some of our other videos on YouTube. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you're one of our subscribers, I honestly can't believe it. I just don't really have any words to say about that, but very, very grateful you guys are watching, and I really, really hope you're learning. We'll talk to you soon.